Hello again, and welcome back to the Gold Diet 2. This is now the second video concerning the gain or lose diet, according to whether you need to gain weight because you're below your ideal weight, or whether you need to lose weight if you're overweight, which is wonderful with this way of eating, because whatever you want to do, gain or lose weight, it's exactly the same eating method. So it's simple and you can't go wrong. Last time in my video, I explained to you how this way of eating functions, the advantages of it, what to do, what not to do, etc. So if you want more in-depth information about the basic knowledge concerning how to follow this diet, then please refer to my first video, which is just called the Gold Diet, Gain or Lose Diet, whereas this one is Gold Diet 2. Okay, now in this video, I'd like to concentrate on examples of menus you could eat, so that your menus are properly combined, using different types of food which go well together, therefore giving you a good digestion, good absorption of nutrients, and thereby giving you extra muscle if that's what you need to reach your ideal weight, or lose fat if you are overweight. Now, as I said before in the first video, it's best to always eat fruit in the morning after a good night's sleep. 8 hours sleep, that's always best. As we call it, it's the 8 hours of beauty sleep. That way you always stay beautiful. And then for breakfast, it's fruit, and nothing but fruit all morning until it's time for lunch, midday meal. Then you can eat something else. I explained the reasons for that in the first video. Now, of course, all the fruit can go well together. There's no difficulty at all. Every single fruit combines with every other fruit. It's all one big category, the same category. The only exception, as I said before, is for bananas, which have 45 minutes digestion time, as opposed to 30 minutes digestion time for all the other fruits. So once you've finished eating your fruit, which of course helps you evacuate all the waste products from your body when you're going to the toilet, which is good to do in the morning so that you're feeling nice and light and without any hindrance after eliminating all the waste products, then you can go on at midday, at lunchtime, with a meal which obviously has to be properly combined. Now, the question you need to ask yourself when you're composing a menu in this gold diet is, do you want to eat carbohydrates? That's starch, of course. Or do you want to eat protein? Because that's the golden rule. You shouldn't mix protein with carbohydrates. Otherwise, you'll have 18 hours of indigestion. And after that, you only have negative consequences concerning bad fat coming on your body and the good nutrients, which are not absorbed, which could have built you up with better body structure, muscle tissue, etc. Now, once you've decided if you want protein or carbohydrates, then you can just add whatever you want to that, except for fruit, of course, because, as I said before, fruit can only be eaten on its own because it has a very quick digestion time. And if you were to eat fruit with anything else, which has a slower time of digestion, then the fruit would just stagnate in the stomach because it's being blocked by something else. And then it will begin to ferment and putrefy, become rotten. And that's why people have stomach aches. Well, when they eat something which is badly combined, at least. And so that is why no fruit with anything else. That isn't fruit. So what you can eat with your carbohydrates or protein, once you've made a choice, are vegetables, green vegetables, not potatoes, because that's starch. And with your green vegetables, you can even add a salad. Or you can have salad instead of green vegetables, or you can have both together. Salad and green vegetables with either your protein or with your starch, whichever one you choose. Then, as I said before, there are different categories. So I'll just go over those again because we're composing a menu here. Now, let's take protein, first of all. Let's say you want to eat a fish, okay? All fish are in the same category of protein, which is in the same category as meat products. So if you wanted to eat with your fish, I don't know, maybe some pieces of meat of extra flavor. So on the side you have meatballs, let's say, okay, anything at all which is meat. And you could even have, I don't know, let's say chicken wings, because all those three proteins, meat, poultry, and fish, can be eaten together. So that could be your main course, with, of course, your salad and or vegetables. And that would be your menu. That would be your meal. Now, you wouldn't want to mix with those three, which are one group, as I said, the meat, the poultry, and the fish. That's one of the four categories of protein. So you shouldn't mix with that type of protein any other types of protein. The other types being dairy products, except for milk, which should be drunk separately from anything else. There's also nuts, all types of nuts. That's the third category. And the fourth category are eggs, which are protein as well, obviously, but which should be eaten on their own, separately from everything else, because those are very difficult to digest, just like milk is very difficult to digest for the body. So we don't want to complicate things for the body, and that's why these things should be eaten separately. Now, let's take an example of a menu with carbohydrates. Now, the good thing is all the carbohydrates are in the same category. All the starch, whether it be bread, rice, noodles, potatoes, cake, all of those things. Oh, couscous, grains of couscous, for example. All of those things, okay, go together and are all properly combined. So you can, for example, if you're having a couscous meal, well, obviously it has to be a vegetarian couscous, because if it's what's called a royal couscous with all the trimmings and the meat and everything, it'll be improperly combined. So it'll have to be a vegetable couscous, which is very nice, of course. Now, with your vegetable couscous, you might like to have some potatoes. Well, that's starch as well, so that goes well with the couscous grains. And maybe you'd like to have a slice of bread that you'd like to eat at the same time. That's fine. And for dessert, at the same meal, without having to wait 3 hours for the digestion of the carbohydrates, directly after your main course, for dessert, you could have cake, let's say, for example. That would be fine. Of course, same thing, pasta, noodles, if you wanted for your starter, before this couscous main dish, you could have a little rice dish, a little risotto, like, rice with tomatoes. That's fine. Or you can have a little soup, noodle soup, as long as it's not chicken noodle soup, for obvious reasons, because chicken being the protein would not go well together with the noodles, which are carbohydrates. So you could have just a kind of vegetable noodle soup. That would be your starter. And there you have a 3-course meal. The vegetable noodle soup to start off with, the vegetable couscous for the main course, with your potatoes, your other vegetables, fried bread. Well, it doesn't have to be fried. It can be just an ordinary slice of bread. And as I was saying, for the desserts, piece of cake. That's fine. So now that is a typical carbohydrate meal. Now, the differences with that basic menu would be if you were to eat other types of protein. Now, let's take a case where you wanted a protein meal, but you didn't want to eat meat, fish, or poultry. You wanted to eat, for example, dairy products. Okay, let's see how you could do this with the dairy products. Imagine for the starter, you'd have a nice yogurt. Some people can have it as a starter. It doesn't have to be sweetened. It can be an unsweetened yogurt for a start. Now, the main course. What about cheese? Melted cheese. Not on toast, because that would be starch. That would not go well together. But you could have a nice vegetable dish, green vegetables, of course, no potatoes, and you could have melted cheese on top. How does that sound? And for dessert, how about ice cream? Yes, another dairy product. You see, that would be a 3-course dairy product meal. Now, let's look at the third category of dairy products, nuts. Well, for nuts, I suppose eating just nuts, maybe it sounds a little bit limited, but I don't know. How about some pistachio nuts as an entree? That could be nice. Or peanuts or cashew nuts, whatever nuts you like, because, well, people do often have a little bowl of nuts as a starter. That would be nice, with a few olives. That would be very nice indeed. People often have olives to start off their meal as well, a little bowl of olives. That's very nice. Now, for the main course, for nuts. Now, you could do something like a nut loaf, but not with bread, not with flour. You would have to use something that's like vegetable matter. Now, I don't know if you've heard of these vegetable substitutes, which you can use. It looks like meat, but in fact, it's vegetable matter. Now, there's different brand names. In the past, there used to be Proto-Veg, but I can't see that these days anymore. But now you can find another brand, which is called Quorn, spelled Quorn. Now, they have lots of different types. Actually, it's made with soybean. So it's vegetable matter. So that's why you can eat it. Oh, and to drink with it, obviously, you could have soya milk, which is perfectly all right because it isn't dairy milk. It's not cow's milk or any animal milk, but it's vegetable milk, soya milk. So obviously, that could be your drink with the meal. Now, the soya bean can be in any form. They make it look like sausages, burgers, meatballs, mincemeat, so many different shapes and forms that this soya bean can be made into, that once again you're really spoiled for choice here. And of course you can put nuts on top. You could even make a soya bean nut loaf with the soya flour, not carbohydrate flour like we usually use to make bread, so not wheat flour, but the soybean flour. Or you just mix the nuts with the different soya products, and so you could have a nutty burger, a nutty sausage, meatball, mix it with your mincemeat, and see how that goes. So you could do lots of different things. When I say mincemeat, it isn't mince meat, it's actually minced soya, which looks like mincemeat. Now, that would be there for the main course. Now, for the dessert, what kind of nuts could you have as a dessert? Well, once again, any kind of nuts could be very nice as a dessert. So if you like nuts, well, you could just have some nuts as a dessert, a bit like you can have it as a starter as well. Maybe not the same nuts, have a bit of variety, diversity. So that's another possibility. Now, we have the fourth category, of course, for protein. Now, what kind of menu could you have with protein? Well, that's eggs. So, well, there once again, you're a little bit limited. Obviously, the vegetables are fine. The salad is fine. Egg salad, why not? Or eggs with vegetables. That could be an idea. And the good thing is that although eggs are in a category of their own, there are lots of different ways of preparing the eggs. Omelets, fried eggs, scrambled eggs, poached eggs, boiled eggs, and I'm sure there must be many more. So at least you can vary your egg dishes in the different ways that you prepare them. And there, obviously, it'll be the vegetables and the salad that's going to complete your meal. And you could even have a meal where you have different kinds of eggs. So for a starter, well, I don't know, maybe a fried egg. Okay, you put your own little seasoning with it, whatever you like with your fried egg. Make it nice and tasty, salt, pepper, vinegar if you like. All of that is fine, not incompatible at all with this way of eating. Then for the main course, an omelette. That'd be nice. Mushroom omelette. Very nice indeed. So you can just do any omelette you like for the main course when you're eating eggs. And for the dessert, well, once again, as well. Oh, before we come to the dessert, for the main course, if you don't want to have, for example, an omelette, you could have, for example, a salad with boiled eggs, which have been like well, grated or broken down into small pieces, and so you could just like sprinkle your salad with the eggs, which are like the size of crumbs, you see. So it's not bread crumbs, it's literally egg crumbs on your salad. So that could be nice also for the main course. Now for the dessert, well, once again, you'd have to think of something maybe sweet, maybe have something sweet, maybe with eggs, or just something which is sweet on its own, which is just sugary. So in fact, it wouldn't interfere really with the eggs because it wouldn't be like carbohydrates or a different type of protein. Well, I mean, there's things like fudge, caramel, toffee, and so you could also find actually a soybean dessert. That would be nice. That is to say, the soybean, you could put something sweet on it, chocolate sauce, caramel sauce, anything you like to make it sweet. And that way you could have a soybean dessert. So that way it wouldn't interfere with the eggs because it's vegetable matter. And that's all right. That's fine. Vegetables with everything except for fruit, as I said earlier. And except for dairy milk from cows. But soya milk, soybean milk, that's fine. And also, apparently, it's better to digest for those who have difficulties digesting milk. Some of them find digesting this vegetable matter milk, this soybean milk, much easier to digest because it's vegetable matter instead of animal matter. So those are a few ideas of different menus you could use when combining the starch with the vegetables and or salads and the proteins, each in their own category, but you must mix the 4 different categories together. And of course, eat any one of those 4 categories of protein with, once again, vegetables and or salad. For salad, of course, you have things like tomatoes as well as lettuce and cabbage and broccoli, carrots, onions, sweet corn, cucumbers, pickles, well, any type, anything you like that's vegetable matter can be used for the salads. So that's very varied. Horseradishes, if you like that, beetroot, yes. All these are possibilities, and all the other root vegetables, parsnips, swedes, all except for potato, of course, because there, as it's starch, unless you're having a carbohydrate meal, then you can have a potato salad. That's fine. So those are the different types of food. Remember also to drink a lot, as I said before. Doctors recommend 2 or 3 liters a day. It doesn't have to be 2 or 3 liters of water. It can be tea, coffee, other drinks, fruit juices, anything you like. But if you aim for 2 or 3 liters a day, that should be fine. Of course, you can drink more, but less isn't recommended. Exercise, as I said before, is good to keep your body in good shape and to make the most of all those good nutrients that have been absorbed by your body by doing this healthy way of living and eating. Sleeping 8 hours, if possible, your 8 hours of beauty sleep, as I call it, to keep you beautiful. And also going to sleep 3 hours after your last meal, before sleeping. Now, if you time it right, you will then finish eating your last meal 3 hours before it's time for you to go to sleep. That way, you'll have managed to digest everything. Now, of course, if you're having pork meat just before sleeping, pork being more difficult to digest, that's 4 hours digestion time instead of 3 hours for all the other types of protein, and also 3 hours when it's starch or carbohydrates. Then obviously you have to allow for 4 hours between the time you finish your last meal of the day and the time you go to sleep. That way you'll sleep better because your body won't be working, trying to digest things when you're supposed to be at rest, sleeping, you see. That's why some people have difficulty sleeping because they're still trying to digest, and that complicates things. Now, of course, if you're having a very light meal, let's say just salad, just vegetables. Now it's 2 hours digestion for salad and or vegetables. Well, that way you could go to sleep 2 hours after eating just salad and or vegetables, and that'd be fine. You'll have finished digesting those. And if you want to go to sleep real quickly, without waiting too long, you could have something to eat, finish eating it, and be able to go to sleep half an hour later, so that you finish your digestion in half an hour. And what am I referring to here? Fruit. Because as I said earlier, fruits, except for bananas, which are 3/4 of an hour digestion time, all the other fruits are only half an hour digestion time. You could, if you're hungry before going to sleep, but you don't have time to wait for the digestion to finish, just have a fruit meal. I mean, you can have fruit during the day, of course. It's not only for the morning. But what I was saying was, in the morning, don't have anything else other than fruit. So fruit is not limited to the morning, but in the morning, there shouldn't be anything else other than fruit. So you can also have fruit during the day. And if you finish eating some fruit, except for bananas, that's 3/4 now, but all the other fruit, half an hour before going to sleep, you'll finish digesting those items of fruit, and you'll be ready to have a good night's sleep. So that's another recommendation. If you're coming home very late at night, you're hungry, but you still want to have a good night's sleep, so you want to respect the guidelines of this way of eating, the GOLD diet, gain or lose diet way of eating, then just have a nice fruit meal. Fruit salad. Yeah, that's nice. But without the salad, without the lettuce, only the fruits, obviously. Fruit salad, just fresh fruit. And that's fine. That will give you a really good digestion half an hour later, or if you want bananas, 3/4 an hour later. So that's about all the information for this video, which is more about the different menus and the ways you can combine these different types of food together in a proper way so that they're well combined, so you have a wonderful digestion. And so I hope this has given you a few ideas. Obviously, if you have any questions about this, about the combinations, what can go well with what other thing, and can you mix them, or how long you have to wait, or anything like that, don't hesitate to just write a little question or comment or remark or observation, anything at all, in the notes concerning this video, and it will be a pleasure for me then to answer any questions you may have. So I hope you're able to put this into practice. Also, you can give me feedback of how things have gone for you. If you feel a difference, if you notice a difference, for those who need to gain weight, if you gained weight because you're underweight, or if you've lost weight, if you needed to lose weight and before you were overweight. But not only that, you'll also feel better. This is a good thing also about this way of eating, which doesn't have to be limited for just the time that you lose the weight or gain the weight, depending on whether you need to lose or gain weight. But it can be just a way of life, all of your life, because you're just eating naturally. As long as you don't overeat, you can eat just about anything you like, as long as it's well combined or eaten on its own separately, so that there's no clash or conflict between the different foods in your stomach during the digestion process.